This is Churchminshall. I think it's Churchminshall Loch. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, really, it feels. Do you know what might have happened? Oh, my cunning plan's been foiled. So they will leave the lock empty and I'll have to fill it. Anyway, it's a single lock. I'm talking about this like it's the end of the flaming world. So I'm just going to bring the boat to a stop. So the boat is coming up to this bollard. I'm going to put a loop around it like so, and that is going to help me to bring the boat to a stop. And I'm taking in the slack as the boat goes past because I don't want it to go too far past. And now it'll take the strain and it'll bring the boat in. Yeah, I was all made up with myself there thinking, oh, the lock's going to be just ready for me because I saw a boat coming the other way, but these guys were just ahead of me. Anyway, as I say, it's hardly the end of the world, but there's the lock, Churchminshall Loch. So I'm going to throw these paddles open. No need to be gentle with them. Well, you know, I'm not a maniac, but you know what I mean. So let's do this one. Nice and easy, well oiled, you can see. They looked after these locks, I think. Right, okay. The camera probably won't show it, but what I can see is there's a boat coming towards me. So that boat's coming through and they will come into this lock after I leave. If I'd seen them a bit sooner, or if they're a bit closer, I would have left the lock for them. But you can see how quickly it's filling up. Look, it's almost reached the level of the sill down there. Hopefully they will help me to, at least they'll help me in the sense that they'll close the gates after me. As a minimum, that's what I'll get. So, you know, even that's worthwhile. One little job saved. So the lock is nearly full. Oh, and just out of interest as well, 2 people this morning have mentioned the YouTube locks. Anyway, so it looks like I'm going to be world famous again, so that's good. You coming up, yeah? Right. Would you mind closing the gate after I leave? Speed things up a little bit. Thanks. So what we've got there is a more serious minded boater, which is not a problem, of course. Not everybody is a jester. Trying to get the boat over to the right so I'm not going in on an angle. I'll balls this up. Ah, never mind. There's always one.
It's always me.
Right. Are you going far today?
I'm not entirely sure. My colleague has got the...
You're sort of, yeah, you're the foot soldier. There's glory in every role, I think. Do you know what? I need to go back a little way. I'll tell you what, could I ask a favour?
Yeah.
Would you mind awfully sort of doing the gates once I'm down? Oh, fantastic. I don't like to presume. If I just throw this open, then I'll just jump on. Right. I'm having one of those days. Right, there we go. I'll jump on. Cheers. Right. I'm on. Water level here is absolutely flying down. It's one of the fastest locks. You can see the sill already. This is a quick lock, this, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So in order for me to be able to prepare coffee, I need to pull over. And to pull over, you know, I need some more. And some more, I need more implements. So So, yeah, mooring pins. Not mooring pins. Nappy pins. Right. So out we go. They're deep boxes. These are pretty deep. Thanks for your help, folks. Cheers. Right. Interesting little GRP there. That type of GRP that has a sliding roof. The roof slides backwards, like the Barbridge cruisers. I don't know if how people, any of this makes sense to ordinary people. A boater will know what I mean. I do love the design. But I've not seen like a narrow one, and that's an example of such a beast. The ones I've seen have all been on the Broads or on broad canals. I mean, you know, well, I'm just babbling. Stop it. What am I even babbling on about? I've even run out of babbling. So that was great. Got a bit of help with that lock, so that was brilliant. Got through in no time, and now it's just a straight run. Or it would be, but it has to be interrupted to break a brew. And also a comfort break, by the way, you know. There are more sinister affairs that have to be sort of attended to. People say this, it's a thing you hear universally when you watch YouTube videos, you know, is it's the sad sight that, you know, they always feel sad when they see a boat sinking. It is absolutely true. It's not that, you know, they're not being dramatic. And I think it strikes home more because you're on a boat yourself. What the hell is that? What on earth is this thing? I wonder if that's some kind of dredging boat, or for dealing with weeds and overgrowth at the side of the canal, because look how smooth the hedges are. Maybe that's got a long arm which reaches to those hedges and cuts them. All wild guesswork. There's a horsey there, plodding about, checking out the sheep in the next field. A couple of a horsey friend over there. Oh, like he's sticking his head over the fence. There's something so admirable, lovable about horses, isn't there? They've really got characters, I believe. I've never owned a horse, or indeed spent time with them. But there's a way that they behave like they have their own will and their own ideas about life and how they should conduct it. And I sort of quite like that. This is the aqueduct marina, so this is the one for the more well-to-do boaters. Sort of waving, the front end of the boat is waving about a little bit here. I haven't gone insane, or any more so than normal. I realised I was too far over to the right. So what I think I'll do is I'll pull up here. I might as well make it here. I've got Armco, I've got mooring pins. So do you know what I could do? I could try more on the centre rope thing, because I'm not going to be that long. When the boat's held by a single centre line in the middle, it is prone to wobbling about. So I'm not sure if this will really do the job, but I'm going to see. and we're off. Gotta say, absolutely beautiful location. Also, we must press on. Well, there's a moored boat somewhere in summertime with a bag of coal, so somewhere in winter as well, presumably. Okay, let's do this. I left the fire on this morning because it's going to be cold tonight, and I thought rather than stop and build a fire, which is no hassle, to be honest, the way I do it, it's an absolute dobble. I'll do a video on how I do a fire. It's great. It's a great, no, genuinely, it's a great technique, because it's a doddle. None of this building up, you know, pyramids out of twigs and then layers of coal. No, just, you know. But I won't go into it because I'll sort of show and tell. You know what I mean? Not just tell. But this is a lovely location anyway. I can't see any evidence of any settlements within eyesight. It's very rural, very quiet. You know, to be honest, prime axe murder territory really, which is why I'm not stopping. Because see, this is the rope cutter. It's a great thing, and it's got a blade in the middle, and you get the rope where my finger is, obviously with a lot more force. Otherwise, you would really do some damage. It really is super sharp, and a few tugs on the rope, and it cuts most ropes. You know, narrowboat size ropes. It cuts those. Hang on, we're heading for the bank. This is like the second near miss. I've been very good, or not very good. By my standards, I've been pretty good for a long time in terms of not hitting things. And today, this does seem to be a bit of an issue. If I do sort of spread my focus around to things like using my voice and my brain at the same time, which doesn't always happen, then my steering goes astray. So yeah, that's not ideal. That's just on 1300 RPM. I'm not going to do it. I've done the RPM thing. I can hear people groaning already. And I don't know what my cruising speed is. I'm getting into cruising speed and RPM again. I said I wouldn't do it. But I'm sort of curious. I'll only do this once and I'll cut this out anyway. There's some mayflies all over the place. Bugger off. There is an issue as well, which is that a boat came past just a minute or two before. The mayflies are everywhere. Sod off. Ugh. I was going to say they're a menace. They're not a menace, are they? Because they don't do any harm other than psychological. Do you know what I mean? No, they don't do any harm. They're just horrible. There's a boat in front. Yes, before them, I got invaded by mayflies. A boat went past me just before I cast off. He won't be far ahead. Unusual chap as well. Young, but in a trad boat. Normally it's the guys in the cowboy hats and the grey beards, and sometimes, you know, cloth caps. They like the vintage Canal look. It's almost like a cosplay thing with some of the guys. They're that enthusiastic. I'm not knocking it. Sounds like I am. It's a hobby. We will stop well before dark. Oh, and because obviously now clocks have gone back. They went back, yeah. Which is great for boating, really, to be honest. One of the sort of downsides of living in the more northerly latitudes, and I know, well, no, oh god, it feels like you've only got about 6 hours of light, and that's great in towns and when you've got a car and loads of facilities close by and so on and so on. But when you're on a boat, it's a slightly different, well, it's a very different ball game, because especially when it's cold and especially when it's muddy, you know, it all stacks and starts to stack up to have the effect of encouraging you to stay, you know, on the boat. And it's cold, so you can't sort of sit outside the way you can in the summer. You can't sit on the stern or something. Yeah, so you're sort of forced by circumstances to sort of spend a lot more time indoors, and you do get that kind of cabin fever. Now that spring has sprung, so to speak, it's now sort of 7 o'clock-ish before it gets dark. I think it's even later. So That gives a lot more liberty, and of course it's getting a bit warmer as well. So, you know, whereas before it got to 5 o'clock and you're like, oh, there's 200 yards of mud to, you know, to get to where I can reach the shops, or, you know, get to a road from which I can then ride to the shops, blah blah blah. And you're like, oh, I can't be bothered. Or to a pub even, you know, all that mud to go through. So that's nice. And of course that's why now we're starting to see so many more boats. Because do you know, it's a funny thing. I had a misconception before I got the boat that an awful lot of people, the majority, lived aboard their boats. Like there's 30,000 craft licensed by the Canal and River Trust on the inland waterways, apparently. And I thought the majority would be people who lived aboard their boats. You know, I just thought, you just sort of assume, because you see them doing it on YouTube and you think, yeah, you know, that's, everyone just does that. But of course there's an awful lot of people for whom the boat is a part-time thing. You know, they'll go out for the summer because they don't enjoy the winters on the board, and you can understand why. And especially, you know, some older couples who don't fancy walking through the mud or slipping around. You know, there's an element of danger. So, and more rain as well. Rain seems to rain much more often in the winter. Could be just a perception thing, I don't know. So, yeah, I was wrong, and it was something like 6,000 or 7,000 boats are lived on full time. The other 23,000 part time. The Badger Inn, 1,000 metres. I'm not walking 1,000 metres to the Badger Inn. I bet you it's nice though. But I can't stop. I've already stopped for lunch. Cheese on toast. Mwah, it was lovely. Yeah, I got a toaster. Because I thought in the summer I'm getting so much excess electricity, the batteries get too full. So I've turned the panels off. They're not charging. You know, so batteries are nearly full at the level you want them to be at. It's complicated with lithium. Don't even get me started on that. And all that's done sometimes on these summer days by lunchtime. So for the rest of the entire day, I'm not collecting any solar power. I sort of disable or switch off the solar charging units. It's amazing how self-sufficient you can be for energy in the spring and summer and autumn. It's only in winter really, without, you know, that you have to use your engine or a generator to create electricity. But there's plenty of room. It's nice and wide. There's bags of room. There's no traffic, so we're all good. It's a hire boat. Hi guys, going far today, lads? Oh, Barbridge, yeah, nice trip. Well, gotta say folks, there's another bridge. Yeah, there's another bridge. Got through and nothing hit. I don't think the amateur boater works for me anymore. I think it's got to be something. I can't call myself the pro boater. I think I'd be asking for trouble for one thing. But amateur doesn't seem right. Because the minute I start boasting about stuff and getting a bit, you know, oh, aren't I great? That's when disaster strikes.